Hello, this is Manuel Rios here. We're going to look at gait as it changes across the lifespan. We're going to look at it in four different stages. We're going to look at it as in early childhood, adulthood, and older adulthood. What I'll talk about is theories, constraints, and abnormalities from what should be normal, and then what are some of the constraints, and then what are some of the abnormalities that you will face or somebody will face in the different stages of their lives that can restrict them as they get older. As we go through our first slide here, we're going to start off when they're first walking. What they will typically have is a wide base for support. They'll have shorter strides and have flat foot contact and exaggerated arms. As you see kids, they kind of walk, like dinosaurs, or really wide base, exaggerate their strides. And even though it's short, it looks like they're going nowhere fast, but that's for them to keep their balance. The neuromodulation of the theory, drives, the CNS drives that improvement for them. And what you'll see is a lot in some of the abnormalities, or they're going to be walking on their toes. Like we saw in the video with this young girl, she was walking around consistently on her toes. And when she even, was hard for her to catch a balance and actually make contact when she was trying to kick the ball. Those neuro neuromaturals maybe haven't developed or not developing because the way she's walking and the way she's not able to balance herself to kind of do a basic skill, locomotive skill like that. Some of the constraints are an immature sensory system, like we saw with her not being able to make contact with the ball or kick the ball. And then also being off balance because that base is not there. They're not walking with a little bit of a wider base and their arms might be up and tight. And they're not walking flat-footed and with the wider base. So some of those things can throw off the balancing on the immature sensory systems to be able to kick balls or even to be able to bend over and pick up a ball. Some of those things might not be there. As we work through to childhood, as kids going to the school age area, they're going to start narrowing their base and they're going to start having a little bit longer strides. They should have a smoother swing within their arms and they should start making heel to toe contact. Now, you want to have that dynamic system theory, practice and strength matters. The more they do it correctly or the more they practice it, the better muscle memory they have and the more efficient that they'll be as they get older. Now, say they haven't developed the same way or developed, um, in the correct way, but there's some abnormalities there. Some of those abnormalities that you will see is in towing or out towing. People call it pigeon towing, where their feet are stuck in, like I see in my picture here, or they might be, their toes might be sticking out. Those constraints, with growth spurts and coordination challenges will continue to plague them, like we saw with in the early childhood, with them being on their toes and not keeping their balance and not being able to kick a ball. Some of those things will also come into play as well. With their toes walking in, can cause some bull-legginess and help push their legs out or their hips out, and they'll also lose that balance. As we work into adulthood, you'll see a little bit more efficient heel to toe or longer strides. As we saw in the video with the lady walking on the treadmill, she had good even strides when she was walking. She had a long arm swing. She had good heel to toe striking on the treadmill, and she also had a good long stride with her legs. She was in good balance. She was in proportion. Her hips were underneath her, and she was walking in a real concise way. Now, as you get older, if you're doing those things, your motor learning, you're able to be a little bit more coordinated. You optimize your energy efficiency, and you're able to, progress, coordinate, be more athletic, be healthier, be in less pain. Now, some abnormalities as people get older, and I even suffer from this as well, is like overpronation or having really flat feet. some of the constraints that you have, or in the footwear, you can have some of the environment that you're working in. Like for me, I've run half marathons, but I overpronate, so I have to wear a super thick shoe or supportive shoe with a supportive insert to keep my feet from going in and hurting my ankles and my knees. At one point, because I was running so much, my knees got so bad and my ankles got so bad that I had to stop training. So it does put a lot of wear and tear on the muscles and where they're not supposed to be, but there's ways to fix it and ways to get better, or to circumvent that with different shoes. Now, some of the constraints I was talking about before, there's shoes, there's environment, occupation, if you stand on your feet a lot. I used to stand on my feet a lot. I used to work in a warehouse. I was constantly walking around, and because I overpronate, by the end of the night, my ankles and my knees would be killing me. Also, my hips, and then from my hips being tight, now my lower back was tight. I bought more supportive shoes, and then I was able to walk for a longer distance. When I was younger and a college athlete and things and stuff like that, it didn't affect me as much because my body had such good strength. But as I tapered off on my training, my body really started to break down because of that. So now I have to find the right shoes to circumvent the overpronation. And then also, if I do that, make sure that I still have, I'm not totally flat footed. Uh, One of the worst things I ever did was train in flat footed, no minimalist shoes, which totally ruined my knees. And I had to stop training for like almost a year to do that. Now, as we get older, we're slower, we're starting to slow down, we have shorter strides. We need, we're more double limbed, reduce push off, sometimes shuffling along. Um, we're looking at a sensory decline. It impacts the gait. Some of the abnormalities as you get older, shuffling, that's a big issue. Maybe Parkinson plays into that. Not getting around, not being as mobile. I think that plays in from adulthood into older adulthood. If you continuously move your body has that great muscle memory, and you're not losing the muscle as fast as you would if you were being sedative. I think that you can do that. I have a couple of great examples in my life. I have some older people in my life that have stopped moving and stopped walking, or they walk in like flip flops or sandals, and they can't go very far because it hurts their feet or their back, and they have to shuffle around. Where I have somebody in my family who's in their 80s and plays golf 4 days a week and actually still walks the golf courses. So it's all about making sure that you're trying to continuously elongate that stride, making sure that you're taking proper care of your feet and trying to keep as much muscle within your body as possible. Now, some of the constraints that you have, is vision and hearing decline, fall risk. Unfortunately, there's a huge fall risk amongst some people, even in my family, or older people, that they're shuffling around, they don't have great balance, and maybe a dog comes by and they can't move, or they step wrong off a step, they miss a step, maybe it's only 6 inches, but they fall and hurt themselves. So there's a lot of negatives to not continuously moving your body and walking and making sure you're walking, trying to walk with more of an adulthood where you're having a longer stride, moving your arms and keeping that balance and momentum. And now as we go past that, and in summary, right, gait evolves, stabilizers, then decline. You want to make sure you keep your stabilization, your core, your hips, your knees, everything intact. You want to make sure that you have a dynamic system, the abnormalities and the constraints across the stages. You're carrying with you. I know I'm going to carry my pronation for the rest of my life. Unfortunately, it's just what I have to live with, but at least I know how to circumvent that with the proper shoes. Not doing any more marathons, but if I'm going to be standing for a long period of time, making sure I have the correct insoles so my feet are rotated out or my knees just kill me. So, based off that, I got the information, from our book, from the videos that we watch. I watched, Sullivan and Cook and Walcott Motor Control, talking about, as you get older and how that all works as well. But thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much.